It's June 15th, 2022, 11 a.m. in Kassel, and I'm delighted to welcome all media representatives and all guests at the opening press conference of Documenta 15 at the Aue Stadion. After a short video clip, we will hear the opening speeches of the press conference by Dr. Sabine Schormann, Director General of Documenta and Museum Fridericianum gGmbH. Christian Geselle, Lord Mayor of City of Kassel and Chair of the Supervisory Board of Documenta and Museum Fridericianum gGmbH, and Angela Dorn, Hessian Minister of Higher Education, Research and the Arts, and Deputy Chair of the Supervisory Board of Documenta, Museum Fridericianum gGmbH. And now, please enjoy the press conference of Documenta 15.
Members of ruangrupa and the artistic team, participants and partners of Documenta 15, Lord Mayor Geselle, Minister Dorn, representatives of the media and dear guests. I'm also happy to welcome you today with this beautiful weather to welcome you to the press conference. And Nazi Daria's beautiful music can also be enjoyed at on the live stage when we will have our central opening of Documenta. Today marks the end of a journey that began in 2018 with the appointment of the International Finding Committee. The 8 members, which I would also like to welcome today, there are up there, had the challenging task of choosing a new artistic director for the 15th Documenta. This means that they had to think ahead about which concept 4 years later would not only have significance for the art world, but also in the tradition of previous documentas would hold up a mirror to socio-political developments. And this in a time that is struggling globally with urgent issues ranging from climate change to distributional injustices to the expansion of armed conflicts. Not only from a German or Western perspective, but from a global one. After an intensive selection process, their choice fell on ruangrupa, a collective from Jakarta, Indonesia, which consists not only of artists and which beyond its core members of 10, has an unlimited and undefined membership. The name ruangrupa is composed of ruang, which means space, and rupa, form. It is programmatic in that it refers to a physical space in which people work together and collaborate to make things take shape. The goal is not a work of art, but the cooperation itself. The Good School, which is run jointly with other Jakarta collectives, is not really an art school. Rather, it teaches collective work. A common house is important for that, the rural house, which existed in several versions before Kassel. It also requires shared values, such as humor, generosity, trust, or independence. Sabine Schormann put it in a nutshell for the New York Times. Instead of cooperating to make art, ruangrupa propagates the art of cooperation. This art of cooperation is firmly rooted in each local community, but open to networking with other communities, including those working elsewhere in the world. What is crucial is the process, which is never finished and always open-ended. It is a process that evolves and sometimes does not produce great results, but rather diverse, rich stories and narratives. An important element here is nongkrong, the Indonesian term for being together and talking about everything under the sun without any immediate purpose, through which camaraderie, closeness, and trust evolve. And another important ingredient for the Finding Commission decision was ruangrupa is skeptical about the Western ideal of the artist as a genius, the laws of the art market, institutions in general. This is certainly another reason why this promise to break up structures and give new impetus to a differently oriented artistic and curatorial practice. This is the radicality of ruangrupa as artistic director and reveals the concept behind this documenta 15, recognizable in the invitation policy up to the artistic presentations with activations, even in the way exhibition, production, and infrastructure have been set up. And the Finding Commission wanted to open this field with the danger of failure, which has always been the risk, but also with the opportunity of giving our society new impetus to orient on solidarity instead of the greed for profit and individualism. And the debate which has accompanied the preparations has missed the point and is risking to trying to understand a documenta which has the great opportunity and is trying to testing new ways of understanding our times. Consistently, ruangrupa continued the journey with a counter-invitation. Documenta should become part of lumbung, the Indonesian term for rice barn, in which harvest is stored and distributed, solidarity, but also place to celebrate, which has become the symbol for collective working together in Indonesia. The artistic team and the lumbung members across the world, the lumbung artists and also other artists were brought along, and it worked like a snowball, which triggered an avalanche. And now at least 1,000 have been involved in documenta 15, and the numbers are still going up. Many of them look at the post-colonial perspective of the global south, and under precarious circumstances, they implement their collective practice in which art and life are not always separated. The journey was not without any obstacles. The largest was an entire selection process, and the process of getting to know each other was, because of the pandemic, done in a digital way. And even for until the implementation had to be done for 2 years in a digital manner. That started in 2020 in the so-called mini-majorlist, in which the lumbung artists were separated according to time zones, exchanging not just their ideas and experiences. They also shared a part of the production budget, which after joint discussion was used either for a communal project such as the Lumbung Press and giving other artists the opportunity to participate, or organizing accompanying events in the countries of origin. By the way, for the development of the projects, for the first time, there was a so-called seed money, a fee for all groups and individual artists, and the production budget was also fairly distributed by ruangrupa and all those involved. By now, in Kassel, 2 members of the group and had settled here with their families, fortunately before the pandemic. They explored Kassel, got familiarized themselves with the new ecosystem, and recommended, and on the recommendation of a lot of people in Kassel, they discovered new places, and they explored also the east of the city, and they involved a number of initiatives here in Kassel, which the artists have continued and will continue. The Rural House became the living room as far as was possible because of the pandemic. The artists lived and worked and organized events or exhibitions. And during the duration of Documenta 15, the Rural House will also become the welcome center for the Documenta, where visitors can get anything they need, information, tickets and tours, books and products of the lumbung, and the lumbung gallery can also be visited, and you can simply get some coffee if you like. The idea of solidarity and sustainability has, in the journey with ruangrupa, been implemented throughout the entire process. In the production of the exhibition, where they try to establish material cycles and even up to the food for visitors. This principle is deeply rooted in Documenta 15, and numerous of partner projects developed, for example, to use the sustainability euro, which is part of each ticket. All those involved took up the cooperative ball of ruangrupa and played it on purpose, not always entirely in the original sense, but clearly visible. And in this respect, Documenta 15 was and is not only a constantly growing, but also a learning and very enriching process in which visitors can also get involved in now. Many of the collective approaches, but especially the enormous number of participants, meant great challenges for the organizing Documenta gGmbH, from accommodation of the many participants during the entire duration to the production at 32 locations with more than 30,000 square meters of space. The entire team has done an incredible job here, and I would really like to thank everybody from the bottom of my heart for their tireless commitment, passion, perseverance, skills, willingness to find a compromise. But above all, for their never-ending belief in success. All in all, more than 5,000 people have contributed to the creation, starting with the artists, the producing companies and partners involved from business, society, media, politics, social and non-profit peers, from art and culture as well as science. We owe them a great debt of gratitude, starting with our shareholders, the city of Kassel and the state of Hesse, our supervisory board, the Federal Cultural Foundation, our main partners, the Sparkassen Finanzgruppe and Volkswagen AG, as well as the Goethe Institute. But above all, our thanks go to ruangrupa and the artistic team, as well as the Lumbung members and Lumbung artists who have introduced us to new ways of how to see things and how to work, and have made our common journey along the Lumbung values and Hong Kong exciting and challenging, and at the same time stimulating. Thank you very much indeed.
You all rock! Woo-hoo!
Does the journey really end today? No. The ship has indeed entered the harbor for the next 100 days, where the harvest we brought with us will now be shared with the visitors. But the journey will continue from October, partly with the same travelers, partly with new ones who may be inspired and spontaneously join the next few weeks. Some of the participants will stay here, some will take different paths. But many will continue to pursue the art of cooperation together. Lumbung Kiosk, Lumbung Gallery, Lumbung.space are only some of the formats that Lumbung members and Lumbung artists may continue together. What will remain of it? Who knows? This, too, is left by ruangrupa to evolve during the process. As for the influence of Documenta 15 on the further direction of the art world or even society, time will tell. Re-evaluations after the conclusion are just as much part of Documenta exhibitions as heated discussions in the run-up to or during its duration. This is where Documenta draws its vitality and relevance. We can look forward to it with great interest and curiosity. Thank you. Dear ruangrupas, dear artistic team, dear Director General Schormann, dear Sabine, dear Minister, dear Angela, ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to welcome you on behalf of the city of Kassel in the Auer Stadium at a beautiful early summer day in the year 2022. The weather can't be any better on the occasion of this special event we've been longing for such a long time. Finally, the opening of Documenta 15 is due. We will finally start on Saturday. And Sabine Schormann, ladies and gentlemen, talked about a ship journey. And these journeys over the past 5 years has not been an easy journey. Some challenges had to be managed, but what was necessary to do this journey together was a common spirit, a credo, a statement, a mission statement. And last summer, when we didn't know, because of the pandemic, if Documenta 15 could take place in the year 2022, as Sabine Schormann said, which is described by something that we read in the Bible. Believe, love, and hope. But love is the most important thing, and that reflects this journey over these past 5 years. believe in documenta here in Kassel. It is deeply rooted here of this beautiful gift Anna gave us here 67 years ago, linking the city of Kassel with the world, and also the hope that after this long journey in 2022 to have documenta 15 here. We've heard about the difficulties in the beginning, with the difficulties of the pandemic, this special situation, which not only in coming together, in organizing the event, which was clearly a challenge for the artistic team, but for the overall organization was a problem. But it was equally problematic and difficult time for everybody, for all people. And that is why the city of Kassel, the people in our region, are particularly happy that documenta 15 will now take place in 2022. We are looking forward to welcoming the world in Kassel. But it was also hope we had, and we love documenta, which made us embark on a new path in which you go on not established path of previous exhibitions, but a new path in which the proposal made by the finding committee, and with this I would like to thank you for that once again, and a warm welcome to you now as well. As you said, now we really want to have art and culture from the global south. And for the first time, we would like to have an artistic collective full of joy of life. And I remember the joy when you were nominated, and a wonderful, dear ruangrupa, what you have prepared for Kassel, which you are giving us, how you much have given us with your joy and enthusiasm. Thank you very much for that. If, ladies and gentlemen, and you will all see this in the next 100 days, the ruangruppers can create a lot of enthusiasm, and they have established a network in our city. They've brought people together in our city. That is what I like particularly as the mayor of the city. You have activated people, you have created a network, and you have won over a lot of additional players, and you have disrupted existing structures and reactivated them. And also after the COVID-19 pandemic, and it was also a pioneering effort which is intrinsic to documenta. You rediscovered old places in our city, the wonderful Rural House, for example, but also the exhibition space, in particular in the east of the city, across the river Fulda, of which I'm, as the Lord Mayor, and the entire city community is particularly happy about. Thank you also for that, for embarking on these new roads across our city, which takes up the idea of urban development and expresses a pioneering spirit. And ruangrupa and asks questions which are dominant today, the question of distribution, orientation towards the common good and welfare, on fighting climate change, and questions about the future of our society, not only from the perspective of a Central European or North American, but with the perspective from the global south. And not only from Indonesia, Jakarta, but as you have a big network also from other regions of the world. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is for the Supervisory Board, for the shareholders, and for the entire team, around the artistic team, those who are organizing, taking care of everything, is our mission. Because right from its beginning, Documenta has been benefiting from the artistic freedom, which is the DNA of Documenta, that the freedom of the art here in Kassel, different from other places, is lived in a much more intensive way, and that is what we are committed to and what we are fighting to, ladies and gentlemen. The freedom of the arts is one of the fundamental rights enshrined in our basic law, and we have to preserve it. And then that is why we have this clear protection to which we are committed. To preserve and protect the freedom of the art also in difficult times. And of course, there were also questions and discussions, as it is obviously typical for our media. And I don't want to neglect that due to our historic responsibility of the Federal Republic of Germany, we have a very clear stance with respect to anti-Semitism, and also in the way how we deal and live with our friends and neighbors of Jewish belief, and also the right of citizens of Israel. But I would recommend everybody, before coming in too quickly, because writing something, to look carefully and to have a more differentiated analysis on what has really happened before you judge too fast. And that is why we send a very clear signal with respect to the freedom of the art, and that questions which were not up for debate, which were just imposed by the media, should looked at in a differentiated way, analyzed carefully before judging, and that is why that we have a very clear commitment to Documenta 15 and to ruangrupa. And that is what the city of Kassel stands for, and equally the state of Hesse. And that is why I'm happy, together with you, to look forward to 100 wonderful days to Lumbung and summer culture and art in Kassel. We are inviting the world. Thank you all, and all the best. Ladies and gentlemen, ruangrupa's artistic team, artists, Lord Mayor, dear Christian, Mrs. Schormann, dear friends of the Documenta. We finally did it. The Documenta 15 will be opened, the 15th edition of the World Art Exhibition, which once and is always proving to be the avant-garde exhibition of contemporary art, and thus of the art for tomorrow. We are all looking forward to this. I'm personally looking forward to the implementation of the concept, about which we've read for months, and on the artistic spaces, the events, on what we will do collectively. And I'm grateful that despite COVID-19, we can have this, do this in a rather normal way. We have to do this together. That is the core idea of this wonderful concept, and that is why we are all relieved on the stage that this is possible now. The world of art is looking today and in the next 100 days to Kassel. We are proud that our Documenta, which together with the city of Kassel, supported by the federal government, can now really be experienced, and it will start next week. And Documenta has always been a reflection of its time, an often groundbreaking art exhibition that questions how we see the world and how we understand art itself. And that is why why so many impressive moments of documenta have become engraved in the collective visual memory. For example, the 7,000 oak trees planted by Joseph Beuys as part of documenta 7 and 8. All that is part now of our collective visual memory. And that is why there is such a tradition of documenta to break traditional, the European traditional understanding of an art exhibition. And that is why we now have a radical counter-concept to our traditional European understanding. Ruangrupa and the collectives of art and artists invite us to understand art not merely as a work of art, but as a process of participation, of a social discourse, as a communal exchange of ideas, knowledge, and skills. So not the outcome is in the focus, but the communal, the collaborative process, working out, developing new ways of life and the forms of economy, and the questions of distributive justice and sustainability are on top of the agenda. And this alternative artistic concept of ruangrupa should encourage us and give us confidence to think differently about our world and to find new solutions. And who would be in a better position to do this but art and culture? And that is why it was logical to invite collectives and initiatives from the Global South. Finally, as we in Europe have the feeling that the world is falling into pieces, we should let us ask by people from the Global South whether it has ever been whole. We can learn a lot from the regions of the world that have been dealing for years and decades with the effects of how to find new solutions, their ideas for living together. And Lumbung is a beautiful symbol for that, a communally managed rice barn as a model for a new form of living together. And it is also important to put the focus on the Global South because it has been underrepresented documenta so far, and if I'm right, Indonesia has never been part of it here. And that is why it's absolutely right to have, once again, an alternative concept displayed here at Documenta. And Documenta is also a place for exchange and discourse. It has always been so. Sometimes the discourse has been heated and controversial, the discourse here in Kassel, in Germany, and internationally. This time the idea was to do it together. That was to be the idea was to put this in the focus. And I must say the discourse we had in the run-up to the exhibition shows how important productive dialogue is or should have been. But there's still plenty of time. We're still in the beginning and everything is still open. I think it's important in a dialogue to differentiate more and not just painting everything in black and white. And the director of the Anne Frank Museum said, if one side sees only anti-Semitic and the other side sees only racist, then it is no surprise that dialogue will fail. And who has only a hammer as a tool will treat everything as if it were a nail. And that is a beautiful picture, I believe. Dialogue requires two things. One is listening, and the other is understanding where the boundaries are and respect them. And that is, and I'm grateful to Documenta and ruangrupa who have repeatedly made this clear, anti-Semitic resentment and anti-Semitism must not be expressed at Documenta. They have underlined it and said it again and again. And as a politician, I would add, Israel's right to exist, to defend the right to exist and its security remains part of Germany's raison d'etat. And it is our responsibility because of a unique breach of civilization through the shore. But it equally is true that racist hostility or even attacks here at Documenta in Germany have no place. The pictures of threatening graffiti really took me aback, and I'm still taken aback by that. And my solidarity goes to the curators, the artists, who are being attacked racially and targeted racially, which must not happen when we have international guests here in Germany, whom we heartily welcome. But now, ladies and gentlemen, art should have its space, and I'm really looking forward to the art, the films, the videos, performances, sit-ins, happenings, concerts, and all that will come now. And as the Lord Mayor, I'm happy about the new places, the artistic new space which we are going to explore, and that is also the ability of our international guests, the international artists, that they manage to root their international perspective locally, saying we look into the neighborhoods in the cars. We will spread out into all neighborhoods, especially in the east, the less affluent east in the city, and put it into a new context. And all this shows as also the ecologic system that the river Fulda is taken as an ecologic lifeline on board, and this has become part of the project. All that shows me that we have 100 days ahead of us with new impressions, a new understanding as society of what art is and art as a society in our society. And with this, I would like to thank all those involved, Mrs. Schormann, your entire documenta team. I would like to thank our partners. This has not been an easy time, and I would like to thank especially ruangrupa and the artistic team, all those artists that despite the pandemic, they have just continued, remained optimistic, showing us that we can do it. And last but not least, I would also like to thank all those who have sponsored documenta. And I'm looking forward to the next days and months together with you. And I think today shows with the sunshine how we are feeling here on stage. Thank you.
Next, I'm pleased to welcome Agus Nur Amal PMTOH. His performance is based on workshops with school children from Kassel and deals with the future of the Fulda River. Afterwards, you will hear a conversation between the artistic director of Documenta 15, ruangrupa, and the artistic team hosted by Pablo Larios, followed by a Q&A. You can hand in questions to the guests on stage already now online via mentimeter.com. The code you need for this is 922-123-52. There is also a QR code in your press kit, and you can find information on this on your program sheet.
Dum daga dum dang dum dara dang dang daga daga dum dum dum. Dum daga dum 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 dara dang dang daga daga dum dum dum. Dogo dogo dum dang daga daga dum. Dogo dogo dum dang daga daga dum. Dum daga dum dang dum daga dum dang dum daga dum dang dum. Dum daga dum dang dum dara ta ta dum daga dum dang dum. Dogo dogo dum dang dum dara ta ta dum daga dum dang dum. Dum daga dum dang dum dara ta ta dum dara ta ta. Working good you ya? Okay. Hello, lumbung artis, lumbung member, lumbung organization. This is TV Eng Ong. Long time ago. Long. In the Kassel city at documenta 15. There was a TV called a TV This is the real interactive television in the world. And only at Documenta 50. I can come out and coming again. Long time ago in the Kassel, no, not long time ago. 3 weeks ago, yeah. 3 weeks ago, I came to the Wilhelm Schuler School, yeah. Wilhelm Schuler School in the Kassel. See, I have to put this here. Yeah, ten gedang dong, gedang dang, tagadagadong. You're doing good, yeah? All right. On the Wilhelm Schuler School, I came and meet the children there. I have a plan to making an arts installation, collaborate with the children. Then one by the children come, dang dang tung daga dung dang do tung 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 daga dung tang tung daga tang tang tung daga dung dang do ho tung daga dung tang tung daga dang tang tung daga dung tang tung ho tung daga dung tang tung daga dang dang where dung tung daga dung tang tung daga tang tang tung daga dung tang tung togo daga dung tang tung daga tang tang tung daga dung tang tung. Yeah, I asking the children, what is your opinion on the next 100-year Fulda River? By that question, the children and me making art together. We are making the river, there are umbrella, this one, and then the boat. Dang, 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 toop, dang, 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 toop, dang. 100 next year, the children have very pessimistic about the river. Because the Kassel people thrown away everything on their home to the river. They thrown their sapu, what do we call in English sapu? Broom, yes, broom. They thrown away everything, including bottle here. No, this is sponsor. Lumbung member, lumbung artists everywhere. We understand why the children have very pessimistic about their future, about the Fulda River. So we all artists, member of Lumbung, come here together. We brought our school. Artists from Bangladesh brought the scoop. Artists from Mexico brought the scoop. By the scoop, hey, we are digging the land. Dung daga dang dang, hey, dung daga dang dang dang. We digging the land. We plant the food. This is the plan. Dang 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 dang. This is the full the corn. Yeah, this is the corn. And this is the, what do we call a cabai, chili. And this is the black corn. All artists, Lumbung member, creating together, creating wishful thinking, with variety of thinking. We making the Lumbung will be good for the next future. And at last we bring the water, and then dang 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 tung dang 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 taga daga dung dang dung dung daga dang dang tung daga dang dang taga daga dung dang dung Dung daga dung daga dung daga dang dang dung daga dung dang dung. Dogo dogo dung dang dung daga dang dang dung daga dung dang dung. Dung daga dung dang dang na 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 na. I think that's all my story 3 weeks ago. Thank you very much. Dung daga dung dang taga daga dung dam dung. Dogo dogo dung dam daga dang dang taga daga dung dam dung. Dum daga dum dam daga daga dum dam dum. Dum daga dum dang daga dang dang taga daga dum dam dum. Dum daga dum dang daga dang dang taga daga dum dam dum. Dogo dogo dum dang daga dang dang taga daga dum dam dum. Dum daga dum dang daga dang dang taga daga dum dam dum. Dogo dogo dum dang daga dang dang taga daga dum dam dum. Dum daga dum dang daga dang dang taga daga dum dam dum. Dogo dogo dung dang dara dang dang taga daga dung dang dung. Dung daga dung dang dara dang dang taga daga dung dang dung. Dum dara dum dam dara dam dam taga daga dum dam dum. Dum daga dung dam dara dang dang taga daga dum dam dum.
Good morning. Thank you, Agus. I invite everyone here to go experience part of Agus's presentation at the Grimbelt, which I think is very exciting. My name is Pablo Larios. I wanted to thank you all for joining us today in this very sunny day in Kassel, in this unique stadium environment. I'm one of many individuals who have been invited by ruangrupa and the artistic team to join them on this very, very exciting journey towards Documenta 15. And I've been struck above all by their humor, their good spirit, been told about their karaoke skills, and above all by their very expanded and unique concept of art and its place in society. I think they're an incredibly talented group of people, curators, minds, organizers, and I'd like to introduce you all by name. Ruangrupa is Daniela Fraptono. Julia Sarai-Setiati. Ada Dharmawan. Farid Rakun. Iswanto Hartono. Mirwan Andan. Reza Afisina. Indra Ameng. We can thank Indra for the wonderful prelude music that got the spirit going. And Ajeng Nurul Aini. Who are joined together with Andrea Linnenkohl, Aisha Gulech, Frederica Hansen, Gertrude Flentke, and Lara Kaldi. Oh. Thank you. These are the artistic directors of Documenta 15. And before we get started in our conversation, I also want to point out for the 4th time the Documenta 15 Lumbung artists and Lumbung members who come from all over the world, who are sitting there today. Thank you very much. Our goal with this conversation is to welcome you all, to remind everyone about the lumbung process, and share the story about how Documenta 15 came about. And then you can experience Documenta 15 for yourselves. But we're not here to sit and preach at you. It seems to me that Documenta 15 is about empowering you to give back, to take back what you experience into your community and to your context. We will speak for about 15 minutes, and after this there'll be a question and answer session with members of the press. Let's get started. I think when we talk about Documenta 15, we have to talk about process. What I've seen unfold these months or years is a very unique philosophy of action grounded in existing practices. So I think it's important that we talk about what these practices are. So a little prelude introducing ruangrupa. Ruangrupa was founded in 2000, just at the end of the 31-year Suharto regime in Indonesia. I'd like to borrow some of the words of artistic team member Gertrude Flentka and her account of ruangrupa's founding. Gertrude, you wrote that ruangrupa arose in the late 90s by looking at, quote, what was needed in the cultural scene and the political level and the city. They were passionate about it. A new kind of filter on engagement was needed. The city of Jakarta was already exploding, but growing on the basis of economic and political and often corrupt motives. There was hardly any attention for human and cultural needs. Besides, people had lost the sense of owning the public, and that the public space was also theirs, that they could influence how it developed. Ruangrupa brought a new function for the arts in contemporary Indonesia, which is more focused on structural change. The artist here is a mediator rather than a producer of beautiful objects. A mediator to draw attention to the issues and stories of people who are normally not seen or marginalized. To provide platforms that both address these issues and make them visible in a creative and playful way. And from that, to empower the people to develop their own solutions, to develop their own change. So Gertrude, I find this a wonderful sort of introduction to the existing practices of Documenta, this Documenta, and ruangrupa. So with this little reminder, I wanted to begin by asking ruangrupa, in what ways was your existing experience as a collective a model for what brought you here to Kassel? If anyone wants to jump in, there are mics.
Hello. Yeah, I can start answering, but a lot of other voices, I think, can help me as well. But what brought us here to Kassel was kind of like a long journey before, and then about collectivity, you know, and then how it can be practiced in the art world, particularly. And then we have been also trying to test what type of collectivity can be fostered in other contexts of the world. And then this, because of this long journey, let's say, and then it has been very, very rewarding, humbling as well experience to try to get to know what Kassel is and all those kind of stuff, and what kind of collectivism we can brought in. Not only Kassel is one local, but also other localities. And then we're humbled learning from people we've been working with, collaboration. The extended invitation keep on being extended, and then this week we will even like go further to the bigger public, and hopefully everyone can enjoy Kassel in all its positivity and positive vibes, let's say. And then, yeah, maybe other people can add.
Hi, thank you, Pablo. Thank you everyone who come here. Yeah, I just want to add a little bit about, I mean, we did this already for many years, and then it went more systematic or mechanistic, actually in the last, let's say, 6-7 years, with the lumbung process, with Good School as well, with other collectives, Serum and Grafis Suruhara. And it's more about like how we actually would like to to go further this journey, actually, rather than to only to make sort of like to deliver a certain show or exhibition in Documenta. So that's why we are thinking how to bring Documenta as part of also this journey. So that's why we're thinking how to go beyond Documenta, and also we, like Farid said, we extend the involvement to others and with a similar and also really different model from different contexts, and also not only thinking about what we can do here, but also what is actually can cycle back to to each different localities, which is, I think, and also not only for this event, but also go beyond. You know, I think it's really important how a big scale event like Documenta, for example, also thinking about the others and also share resources and thinking also about beyond itself. So that's why, and of course it will go also with all the details of it. It really influenced our research, artistic research, and many things. Also, really, thank you for all artists that involve. That's also really working together with a lot of actually a project from all the meetings that we have, like Lumbung galleries, Lumbung kiosks. We're talking about also land, currency, and so on. I hope it answered. Thank you, Pablo.
Thank you. Thank you. You've both spoken about this idea of extending invitations. It seems to me that Documenta 15 is an exhibition, but in the most expanded sense possible. There are 39 exhibition venues, and I count something like over 1,000 participants, which is quite special, I think. And you've done even more. You've set up alternative economies. You're founding a radio, gallery, publishing network, school. And I have the impression that you've invited a great many existing organizations and collectives. So I'm wondering, why did you select these groups, these other collectives, and what did you tell them when you invited them to join Documenta 15?
Yeah, hello. Thanks everyone for being here. Yes, it's true, Pablo. I mean, this setting up of projects is not, I would say, by us, but it's the Lumbung logic of putting all of our resources together and making a project. So seeing what is in your cupboard already. So the gallery is a cooperative gallery, the kiosk is a cooperative kiosk. It's putting all resources together. So it's not per se our invention, it's the Lumbung way of sourcing together. And I'd like to add that it's also when we, I would say not invited, but decided mutually to collaborate with each other, with the artists and the Lumbung members, because we would like to also think that they have invited us into their homes and practices and localities. So thank you also for inviting us to. It was not with this logic of commission, but it was rather that they continue doing what they are doing together. So with us, with all together. I think.
And only to add one point, it's also not only for Documenta for the 100 days. Our idea is also to make something sustain what we started now in Documenta with the artists and Lumbung members.
Maybe I can just add, because it's been said 1,500, 1,000. Actually, one of our guiding principles right from the beginning was not big, but many. So we, on paper, we have actually invited very few, but in reality, the way that we practice is a lot of people. So 14 Lumbung members, 53 Lumbung artists, but then with their ecosystems, you know, it adds up. So starting small, but spiraling out. And hopefully, you know, like the spiral continues, no? With the opening on Saturday. So yeah, just to add this guiding principle.
We've spoken a little bit about these lumbung members, and I was hoping someone could maybe clarify for us who they are, how they came to be, because they seem to be somewhat the genesis of a lot more that came after that. Would someone be able to kind of speak a little bit about that?
Thank you. Yeah, maybe as Lara was saying, no, these lumbung members are collectives and organizations that have a very broad practice in their own context. It's very much at the basis of the whole idea of documenta to connect these ecosystems together. And the 14 lumbung members we really have invited from the beginning for this long-term journey. No? So as Ada was saying, ruangrupa was working in Jakarta with Good School, which is already a lumbung of collectives, to extend that lumbung with the lumbung members. So the talks and the commitment has been to involve with the wider ecosystem and to involve like the long-term, keep doing what they are doing, and to use the lumbung and documenta as a way to find new forms of sustainability and economic experimentation together, because everybody currently is struggling with survival or other issues in the world. So how can we exchange not only economic resources, but knowledge, care, problems to sustain each other?
So this idea of sharing and the sharing of resources in particular really extended into the lumbung process and the development of Documenta 15. Could you share a little bit about the specific collective resource sharing and practice? How did it unfold with the majelises, with the common pot? I feel that this is also an important side of the lumbung story.
Yeah, we have like, thank you, Pablo. Yeah, during these last 2 years, I think, yeah, through Zoom, unfortunately, because actually the idea that if COVID is not the case, it would be wonderful. I'm curious actually to see what would be other documenta is if no COVID, because we're gonna meet in person, holding majlises, yeah, physically, while in our case, it should happen in the digital. So we host majlises. It's like the meeting to discuss, like, or to share things if you want to share some things, but also to discuss the collective resources that we actually have. Not just money, but also maybe you want to share skills or programs or space, for example. So the majlises that we have, that we had within these last 2 years, yeah, like consists from the large, medium to mini majlises. Like in case of lumbung artists, there are 9, yeah, nine mini majlises, while lumbung members and lumbung interlokal or lumbung members also have majlises, like regular majlises, either monthly or bi-weekly, and then also at some point, lumbung artists or lumbung interlokal also met in the mega majlis, we call it, where we actually also have like, yeah, different people speaking different languages, and that's, yeah, very beautiful that I learned so much how to host conversation in such a large scale, I think. Yeah. And also what is very interesting is how to see the process in the artistic team where we start by developing or develop working groups, economy working groups, land working groups, currency working group, publication working group, and how these working groups started by the artistic team open also to, yeah, more who want to jump in from the lumbung members or lumbung artists. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else on the lumbung process?
Maybe to say that
sorry.
It became also kind of our collective school, no? Because lumbung is a kind of practice that has no model, it doesn't exist. And we invited the lumbung members with all their knowledges on lumbung or Maya or Buen Vivir, which are like similar concepts. So it's also a way, this majlising, to know, to learn from each other how to practice actually lumbung economy and generosity and all those values on the...
I want to connect this, your last question with the first question that what brought us here. The reason why we came here was because we said yes. We said yes to the invitation. They came to us. We said yes, and then we sent back the invitation to documenta to work on a concept that we call lumbung. And then after that, we indicate that there are some values that we believe that it's part of the lumbung process. They are local anchor, humor, sufficiency, transparency, regeneration, independence, and generosity. So all those values, we didn't find it somewhere else, but we've been practicing it. It's not always easy. There's always ups and downs. There are always ups and downs, and then that's why those practices and those values also we brought here, and because the invitation that came to us also said to the invitation that we sent back, they also say yes. Documenta also say yes when we send back the invitation. So thank you for saying yes. Yeah.
Thank you. So something that also seems to be at the core of the lumbung process and Documenta 15 is also how everything will live on. You've spoken about sustainability as something that is kind of something you're considering from the very beginning. I'm curious, what are the ways in which this process will sort of generate more structures, more projects, more initiatives? How will Documenta 15 live on?
Yeah, maybe I can start and others can add. Thank you for the question, but it is very important for us, like what Andan said as well. Like, it is a journey, and then thankfully Documenta is being part of it right now. The 100 days is an important stop, but hopefully it's not only going to be the only stop for this journey together. And then we started thinking about how to practically sustain what we already started, no, not started, but like we have here, initiated with so many people, all those kind of stuff. Of course, it's not only up to us, but the relationship, I think like what we're looking for is to sustain relationship first, and then afterwards, those practical questions can be answered together as well. We don't have all the answers, and we like it that way. And then, yeah, this 100 days, it is a public celebration. Finally, we can open it up again to bigger public. Before that, it's only artistic team. After that, with lumbung members, and then lumbung artists. And then right now, it's with the public. So hopefully, relationships, new, old, and surprising relationships will also be formed during this 100 days. And then we're open, like how we started. The results we are open with. Sometimes what you're going to see later or like already saw in the past few weeks is as much as a surprise for us than it's to you. And then we're looking for more of those surprises. Maybe other people can add. Thank you.
I add a little bit maybe. Of course, for us, I mean, we've been like talking about like lumbung, this, lumbung that. It sounds like it's like like one solution for the world, you know, like it's like. But we don't see it like that. It's I think that's even the danger, you know, like when we see things like this can be applied imperialistically. Hopefully not. But but this is like really a model which is coming. practice in Indonesia, but also in many parts of the world with a different model, and then we need to learn from each other. And again, connect to what relation just Farid mentioned. I think like this is one of the beautiful things, I think, because we don't meet with all the struggles, models, speculations. Look at them; they're so beautiful. And this is what we, again, this relation, I think it's and connection and networks. And of course, like, we'd like to think also Lumbung will inspire another, I don't know, another different model. And I think people should use it, criticizing it, challenge it, as adapt and speculate in different way, different meaning also. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I've deciphered a very interesting how-to manual that you all wrote called the Short Tactical Guide for Artist-Run Space. I love this. I love this text.
That was like really.
Siyasat.
Siyasat. It's very old, Pablo, but it was like 2009 or 10. Yeah, we wrote that.
Well, in this
please
text,
don't quote something from there.
Okay, okay, we'll leave it be.
Very old.
I'll quote one thing, which is version 1.
It's beta version and never been.
Well,
it's beta version, and the tagline of the Siyasat is, if you don't need to, you don't have to.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. But I will invoke one thing, which is your wonderful phrase, make friends, not art. And I think that's very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Pablo.
So now we're going to watch a special video about harvesting. And you are all invited to participate in a karaoke manner. Thank you very much.
When they don't have water,
we use the bascom.
When they cut our water,
we use the bascom.
But also,
we use the bascom.
When we want to,
we use the bascom.
Collectively on land,
we use the bascom.
Or in our way to survive,
we use the bascom.
But meanwhile,
we use the bascom.
For misunderstanding,
we use the bascom.
To artificially know each other,
we use the bascom.
Yes, yes,
we
yes.
Use the bascom.
We agree.
We use the bascom.
When it's not the first,
we use the bascom.
It are the last.
We use the bascom.
For different struggles.
We use the bascom. We use the bascom. We use the bascom.
Comes the more bascom, with the more bascom comes the more good times, with the more good times comes the more lumbung, with the more lumbung comes the more tierra, with the more tierra comes the more flowers, with the more flowers comes the more bees, with the more bees comes the more sun, with the more sun comes the more vaping, with the more vaping comes the more cloudies, with the more cloudies comes the more rainy, with the more rainy comes the more water, with the more water comes the more bascom. For sure,
we use the bascom.
To decentralize Europe,
we use the bascom.
To help the feeling,
we use the bascom.
Something is not yours,
we use the bascom.
Are you able to carry on?
The bascom.
To know how relevant are the needs?
We use the bascom.
To collectively benefit everyone. To show solidarity, to liberate money for political long term. When you feel lost.
We use the Bascom. We use the Bascom.
We use the Bascom. We use the Bascom. We use the Bascom. We use the Bascom. We use the Bascom. We use the Bascom. With the more water comes the more Bascom. With the more Bascom comes the more good times. With the more good times comes the more lumbung. With the more lumbung comes the more tierra. With the more tierra comes the more flowers. With the more flowers comes the more bees. With the more bees comes the more sun. With the more sun comes the more vaping. With the more vaping comes the more cloudies. With the more cloudies comes the more rainy. With the more rainy comes the more water. With the more water comes the more Bascom.
Thank you.
Maybe just to explain harvest a wee bit. You will experience a lot of it throughout the exhibition, but lumbung is not the only agrarian metaphor or practice that we use. Harvest is another one, what we put in the lumbung. And like I said before, we spiraled out starting small, but knew that we would invite all these ecosystems into the lumbung. And in order to register artistically what we were doing in the different corners of the ever-growing lumbung, we have been meticulously harvesting. And Tropical Tap Water, thank you so much, did this wonderful karaoke. Yeah, maybe we can talk more about harvest. I just wanted to point this out. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we will move to the question and answer section of the press conference. And the way this will work is that you have all been invited to submit questions via an online system, which you will also find in your programs. And then if you would like to ask questions in vivo, please sort of make yourself known and move to the aisles, and the mics will be passed around so you can ask your questions. I'll begin with the questions that were submitted on our online system. This is for the artistic team. It comes from Stunk Collective. Is it an attempt of Documenta 15 to be accessible for people not yet involved or interested in art? What are you doing to include these people and minimize elitist barriers? Should I repeat it? So what are you doing to minimize elitist barriers, and is it an attempt to be accessible for people not yet interested in art?
yeah, we have. I mean, most of the, or like many of the practice itself, that from artists that we involve, is actually dealing with that in the naturally, artistically as well. So you will, like, we're going to find a massive open space from like different scales of activation, people that can participate. Even in June itself, there's like more than sort of like 200 activation, different scales, different participation as well, from babies, kids, until also many different people. That one thing, and then also maybe the other can also add about how we developed. It used to be called, I mean, like, it's very museum, or like maybe a tradition of documenta, so-called education. But we try also to be more involved, or like sort of like a challenge that practice as well, what we call sobat-sobat, which is in Arabic and also in Indonesian means friends. So we already kind of like a long workshops with them, and then they will accompany the public, and also not only accompany but also hang out together. You want to add?
Additionally, I would say also that many artists whom we invited, and also Lumbung members, they are not interested only to make their artwork and to put it in a space. It's also, we have a lot of artists, Lumbung members, who are also interested to activate the spaces. Also, apart from the Maidan program, which we are doing also, colleagues are also here. And what is maybe also very important, and I will give the mic to Reza, is the Ruro House, because Ruro House in Kassel started very early. It was the first, let's say, articulation point and a space, a real space in Kassel where people can come in and have meetings, coffee in Ruro House, sometimes also dinner. And we made a lot of things also with people in Kassel, because the local anchor for ruangrupa, it's one of the values of lumbung, but we are practicing also the local anchor in Kassel.
Yeah, we are very thankful to regard all the Kassel friends and ecosystem so far, because we learned so much. Although Ruro House in the beginning being introduced as a particular building as a new venues for the Documentas 15, but since the beginning of time, in the year of pandemic, for sure we try to acknowledge different practice that could be extended something together. I mean, like Ruro House actually initially is not only like being centralized anything that could happen in Kassel, but we try also to share this differentiate and also learning process together to regard the things that already happen in Kassel. This is very put us into lots of admirations toward the collective and also initiative and individual in Kassels, and we are very thankful to that, because we could learn many things ever since up until today. And then this is the things that the process could be grown, because this should be part of this what so-called initiative, and then how we try to evaluate and learning together up until today.
Thank you. I think now we would ask a question from Enid Tsui from the South China Morning Post. Should voices from the Global South continue to rely on platforms such as Documenta in order to get heard? Is it time for global art ecosystems to decentralize?
If you ask us, the answer no. You know, we should meet somewhere else as well. Hopefully in the future it is possible, because being here, like the process of Documenta 15 has been proving this. Like, there are a lot of challenges coming here from, like, you know, from contexts like us, but it's also a consequence of the world economy, let's say, funding economy as well, all those kind of stuff. Hopefully, at least in the future, we can, learning from this process, learning from doing Documenta 15, we could also kind of like shift that. How to do it practically, we are still struggling with it because it is consequence of many things and many forces. But it is our hope as well, as Ade said as well before, that more people can try to answer this challenge, not only us with Lumbung, and then it would be nice to learn from different type of answers in order to just like really truly decentralize centers, no? So yeah, that's my answer. Maybe other people can add. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, just a bit. Yeah, I mean, still, no, like the knowledge production, the institutionalizing of art. It's also really based on an economic model, and so like really, if you see like all the meetings, just like to underline what Farid said, it's still in a resourceful countries, right? So like that's what we mean also, like the direct relation, what it's actually can develop, go more beyond that. I think it will be really important to build from this practice, because otherwise, I mean, like still the meeting is actually dominated by resourceful countries. Art fundings, for example. So, I mean, Gertrude can add more. I mean, like it's all based on that. So that's why, I mean, we challenge that as well in our practice. How it actually can go or apply the Lumbung values within the art funding logic, which is really also based on the resourceful and colonial countries, actually.
Thank you. I think now I would invite people from the audience to pose their questions. I think we have our first question already. So, could you please introduce yourself, your medium, and ask one question?
Hello. My name is Stefan Köhler. I write for African Arts, UCLA, California. I live in Cotonou and Hamburg, and we run artist residences in both places. My question is, or my comments, first of all, thank you for this wonderful introduction of a documenta that is an open system and not a parade of accomplished works that could later go to art fairs. And ironically, at the same time, now Art Basel is opening its doors. And I wondered, what does it take, or will this documenta be a sustainable, long-lasting impulse to question the commodification of art? And how will that be sustainable instead of being just a straw fire for 100 days?
Thank you. Thank you. I think, Lara, if you could answer the question about commodification and the sustainability of this project.
Sure. Thank you for this question. We actually have a working group which is called a Lumbung Gallery working group. And this grew out of the economy working group of the Lumbung. And it's made up of Lumbung artists and members thinking about how to add ways of sustaining practices and artist-led institutions and different collectives and ecosystems. And we have actually, it's not only, selling and buying work does not only happen in art fairs, it happens also at non-profit exhibitions, but it happens backstage. and it usually does happen at Documenta. We decided to bring this front stage and look at how a cooperative gallery could actually function. We have also partnered with another nonprofit platform called The Artists, where we are thinking about how to benefit the collectives, the communities, their ecosystems, and how to put back in the common pot of the whole lumbung for the sustainability also of the lumbung long term, to all manage it collectively. Thinking also about lumbung, how to also change ideas around ownership and exchange and non-object-based works. So to also experiment, the lumbung gallery, the cooperative gallery, as an experiment of asking questions also about the market, thinking about pricing in a completely different way, which is based on basic needs instead of market speculation. So this would be one way to also to answer your question.
So as Lara was saying, this came out of the economy working group in the lumbung, and the economy working group actually started to exchange on lumbung values and values that everybody has in their own context, and what is actually the fundament of our collective economy on the long term. And from that, the projects Lumbung Gallery and Lumbung Kiosk came out and set up specific working groups, so to rethink the gallery, but also merchandise in this kind of context, how it can benefit long term the lumbung practice. And then we also have a land working group and a currency working group, and those are actually also because of COVID, we haven't come as far as we wanted to, because this really needs deep work, and we were only able to meet on Zoom. But these are actually things that we are also working on throughout the 100 days. You will see many activities, but we will also keep on majlising together on this. And actually in the land we are developing several models of community, not owned land, but community developed land that is regenerative, holistic. And in the currency we are seeing there are several local currencies in the lumbung, in Palestine, in Germany, in Spain, and we are actually seeing whether we can set up a currency system that links those currencies to build our collective lumbung economy also on the long term.
Yeah, just want to add a bit about, because now we're share about this economic working group, and then one of the other projects is also Lumbung Kiosk, different with gallery. Kiosk is more how to share this or to distribute merchandise from all the lumbung members or artists and also their ecosystem. And we also want to have these experiments on how to distribute the merchandise or the products. And then the idea is to not just have in one place on one local, but also in many locals in every artist or lumbung members place, and then how to connect everyone. And we also want to experiment with this different alternative models called feral trade, but this is also still kind of like a process and a process to learn how to we can do this after maybe. And this 100 days kind of like some our kick-off or exercise to do this as well. So yeah.
Thank you. I would now suggest we have time for a question from block 9. I think there's someone there who's been patiently waiting. So thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Johanna Suleta, and I am a cross-pollinator walking between the worlds of diplomacy, corporate, and arts and culture, bringing more dialogue and collaborations. And my question is, from your experience with lumbung, I know you said there's not a law on how to do things, but how can anyone watching who cannot be here replicate more of this concept process values in their own communities, either a normal person in their community or policymakers? Like, what practical steps would you recommend them to create more lumbung across society? Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone like to jump in?
Check. So thank you for the question. In our process, we built this digital space. We call it as lumbung.space that will be sustained beyond 100 days. It's a tool for different interlocal to continue to connect, exchange each other process and support one another. Because after documenta, of course, we will be returning back to our context, each other context with our own vulnerabilities. So how in between we could continue to connect and exchange. While during the documenta 15, or all of our learning process or our harvest is actually stored there. The plan is now to really having time after this, I hope, to reflect back on our learnings and how this learning can also be shared as harvest in this digital space as well. So yeah, if that would be a beautiful idea, actually, that the harvest can also be accessible for more. Yeah.
Thank you. I believe we have, in the interest of time, we have one question from Block 8, and then we would conclude the session and invite you all for some drinks and mingle time. So if you could introduce yourself, state your medium, and ask a question. Thank you.
Selamat siang, ruangrupa. My name is Renee Thorpe. I write for the Bali Advertiser in Denpasar, Indonesia. My question is, how can patrons and collectors be coaxed to fit into a lumbung system and circular economy?
Thank you.
As I was saying, this whole Majlis process for us with the lumbung artists and members has been a kind of school, but we are extending this also with patrons and collectors, and the Lumbung Gallery is one of those experiments. We also call this maybe transvestment. So we are building the lumbung economy, which could be compared to a commons-based economy. That's a word we use more maybe in Europe, based on those values. But we are still in our neoliberal society with capitalist values. So we try to transvest money from the one system to the other, but not only money, also behavior and knowledge. So working through with patrons and collectors, we have several intimate meetings, and also in September there will be larger scale meetings on this. Reseeing what would be actually committing to artwork instead of buying or transacting, how to resee privilege in positions and so on. Maybe others like Lara want to continue.
The basic answer for this question is that to sharing the resources with more systematic method and ways to those who need. Lumbung is actually not only a practice to face or to experience the hard situations, but also to enjoy the moments, to enjoy the harvesting together. So, like enjoying surplus with many peoples are, as Gertrude also mentioned, is one of more systematic way of sharing resources.
I mean, it's about sharing resources, but it's also about the redistribution of wealth and building a different economy through transvestment, what we also call liberating also budgets from conditions, in order to build a different and the lumbung economy, so transiting from one way of living and accumulating wealth to redistributing wealth.
No.
Thank you. So I believe there's much more to say. However, in the interest of time, I believe we have to conclude the session. I would invite you all to email the press correspondent to field further questions. And now I would invite you to the VIP section for drinks and a little bit of food. And hopefully after that you can all experience the exhibition on your own. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pablo.
Dear guests, you have seen the stage program of the opening press conference of Documenta 15. Thank you very much for your participation and your interest online as well as here in the Aue Stadion. We look forward to meeting you here in Kassel.